Studies show that the Jamaican public needs to be educated about the dangers of household chemicals. And here to tell us more about the survey findings is one of the researchers at the Caribbean Poison Information Network, and she's a coordinator there, Sharika Whitelock Balancing. I'm just going to say Sharika. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Tell me a little bit about this study, Sharika. When was it conducted, and what were some of the findings?
So the study was conducted in 2017, between May to September. And it focuses on three specific areas. It focuses on parents' knowledge about household chemicals. It focuses on their attitude towards it. And the observation focuses on the storage, how they store it and where they store it. And it's a qualitative study. It was done in 4 parishes. The main findings from the study was that we know that parents in Jamaica are knowledgeable of the dangers of household chemicals. So we've established that in the study. And parents were categorized as persons having children 0 to 5 years, and they were selected specifically according to a criteria. So parents who would have had children who were poisoned during the time of the study, they were not included in the study. And if they had had a child who might have died recently because of poisoning, they were not included in the study. And so the first part about their knowledge is that we established that all parents are knowledgeable about how to store chemicals, the dangers of chemicals.
What was your sample size?
360,
Okay.
and that was across different socioeconomic groups,
Okay.
and male and female also.
All right, what did you find were some, it says the study was done to identify the determinants. What are some of the things that you discovered?
So some of the main determinants we saw was the environment in which persons store their chemical. So across the socioeconomic group, you find that persons with different home, different size, stored chemicals in different places. So even though they know that we should store chemicals in a cupboard or we should store chemicals high away from children, what happens is that if their environment is not conducive to that, they can't store it. So some of them were being very creative. I would say that they're being very smart. So they'll show you different places where they'll store it. So for persons, some of them in the rural area, they'll show you that they'll put it in a bag high in a tree, which I think that's very creative and that's smart because that's the best way they can do it. Then you'll have persons maybe just with a one-room area. They'll store it under the bed, maybe in a suitcase where they put a lock on it because they don't have a home where you would have separate areas to put it. And persons that might be doing construction, just starting to build and maybe just have a room, they'll have little areas outside where they'll store it in the blocks. And you had persons storing it in maybe like the fowl coop, you know, if they had an old one outside. Or, you know, like the pit latrine area, the ones that would have been condemned in the country, say they'll lock it away there. For persons with, we would say, a very much conducive environment, they'll have their kitchen cupboard that they store it in, they'll have their bathroom areas, they'll have their washroom areas. And then you'd have persons who do not have shelves in the washroom, they would store it like inside the washing machine or maybe somewhere in the shower.
Let me ask you a question. Did you find, which I think was an issue in the past that has led to some children being hurt, where people are putting bleach or other chemicals in what used to be water bottles or containers that make it look as if they're ready to drink? Or
Yes.
So that's still an issue.
That is actually, it becomes a norm in practice where chemicals are stored in food lookalike containers. And you'll find out even in purchasing the chemicals. So you find out if a normal householder would go to purchase a chemical, especially because they'd like it to be cheap or inexpensive, they'll purchase it in these small bottles that would look like drinking bottles. And one of the main issues about these bottles, it has to do with packaging, because chemicals should be packaged properly, and there's a standard way in which they should be packaged. It also should be labeled properly. And when I said label, I'm not talking about having the name on it to just state bleach or just saying a sanitizer. For us at the Poison Information Network, if a child should be exposed to a chemical, or if you should mix two chemicals and the child is exposed to it, or even if you are exposed to the fumes, we would like to know the active ingredients in the chemical. And that's important to us because that is what will tell us the type of toxin that you're exposed to.
Do you think, even in terms of the caps, I know there are some that children just can't open even if they access the chemical.
Yes.
The way it is, it's hard
The
for
child-resistant
right.
container.
Is that something that you think should be policy in Jamaica, that manufacturers here, when they do household chemicals, all of them should take that into consideration?
Yes, I support child-resistant containers for chemical because the child-resistant containers, and when it was conceptualized in the 1970s, it was not done that children can't really open it. It was done to delay it because you do have children that can open it.
Eventually.
But when they came up with the concept, the time it would take for a child to open a container, by the time that child would tussle with it, then a parent or a guardian or someone who is in charge of the child would actually see before the child is exposed to it. So I think that is key, but standardized packaging also is important. One of the main things that we see every day, and even if you just go to an ordinary supermarket or a store, is when you're purchasing your bleach. So it is in this gallon-looking jug, and it's transparent. So that's for that type of bleach. Now, if you remember when we usually use maybe just say Ajax or chloride or those type of bleach, you notice they're packaged in opaque container.
Opaque, yeah.
And that packaging is defined.
Yeah.
And when you look also on the bottle itself, you see specific things. It tells you about the precautionary measures. It tells you the specific active ingredients in it, the percentage of how much hypochlorite is in it. And it tells you if something should happen to you, what you should do.
So that's a proper labeling to which you refer.
Yes.
What about other indicators on the bottle? We're talking about children 0 to 5.
Yes.
By a certain age, they should be able to read.
Yes.
Or identify objects. Is there anything else as far as education that parents can, if you buy a buckle of bleach from the wholesale and it's a transparent bottle, you put bleach on it, but is there something?
You could put the symbol, yes.
Yes, is there something else you can put, like a red mark or a...
Or what has been taught now in school is that symbol for poison. You know, with the skull and the head.
The crossbones.
So most children, basically most children, say from grade 1 to grade 4 or 5 or 6, can identify that.
Danger.
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be nice if you put that on it. But importantly, when we look in terms of an approach for the population, it is important for us even to have a conversation with the industry because they need to be trained and they need to understand about packaging and provide an avenue in which we can support specific type of packaging, especially for our culture.
What standards are the industry persons held to, though?
No, they are not held to any specific standards. No, they're not.
Who would have oversight for that?
I'm not sure, but this is something I think like the Bureau of Standards can look into. It is something that they could look into, what it is that is happening out there in the industry, especially the informal industry. Because you notice just anyone can make a shop. If you want, we can all come together and do a nice little chemical shop.
Let's do it.
Yes. But then we have to think about what are the technical knowledge behind the persons who are doing it. Do they actually understand? Because really they don't understand. And if we're selling it that way, then we can't tell parents not to store it because that's how they purchase it.
That's how they purchased it.
Yes.
All right, we have to go, but if people want to get more information on your study, where do they go?
So if they want to get more information, they can go online to UTech. They can also Google the study to see information on the study. And they can even call the Caribbean Poison Information Network. And I'll leave that sticker with
888 Poisons, 888-764-7667, 888 POISONS. And as you say that, it's important to have an industry-wide discussion, but also discussions with your children.
Yes.
Very important.
And it can start in the schools also.
And
by start educating the children in the schools.
Excellent. Thank you, Sharika.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it very much. Researcher and coordinator at the Caribbean Poison Information Network, Sharika Whitelock Balancing.
All right, we have our weekly Girl Talk next. To join us after this break, more on Smile Jamaica in a bit.